Breaking here at 6, Salisbury police are looking for a missing 15-year-old girl who was last seen in 2011.
What if someone you loved vanished and no one noticed for years? That's exactly what happened to 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐿 Parsons. Her own family claimed she was safe, living with a woman named Nan. But when police started digging, they realized something much darker was hiding beneath the surface. The truth: 𝐂𝐫𝐿 wasn't just missing. She'd been gone for far longer than anyone wanted to admit. The search for 𝐂𝐫𝐿 Parsons would uncover far more than just a missing persons case. It revealed a calculated deception that lasted years. 𝐂𝐫𝐿 Parsons entered the world on February 24, 1998 in North Carolina. Her parents, Carolyn Parsons and Billy Dean Goodman, brought her into a life that would remain largely undocumented. Described as reserved and soft-spoken, 𝐂𝐫𝐿 was said to have a special love for stickers, small, colorful joys in a life that would leave more questions than memories. At the time, Carolyn had recently ended her marriage to Stephen Parsons, who was not 𝐂𝐫𝐿's biological father. Already raising 3 children, Carolyn faced the difficult reality that she couldn't provide the support 𝐂𝐫𝐿 would need. In an unexpected twist of family logistics, Stephen's brother, Sandy, and his wife, Casey Parsons, stepped in and volunteered to raise 𝐂𝐫𝐿 themselves, proof that sometimes the family tree has a few tangled branches. Carolyn felt a sense of relief with the new arrangement. Having grown up without a stable home herself, she didn't want her daughter facing the same uncertainties of shelters or the foster system. In 2000, the adoption was legally completed, placing 𝐂𝐫𝐿 permanently in the care of Sandy and Casey. For a while, Carolyn was still welcomed for brief visits, allowing her to remain a small part of 𝐂𝐫𝐿's life. That changed abruptly on July 30, 2013, when Jamie Parsons, then 20 years old, entered a police station in Rowan County, North Carolina, with a troubling report. He hadn't seen 𝐂𝐫𝐿 since November 2011, nearly 2 years earlier, and claimed something far worse than a simple disappearance. According to him, their parents had done more than just lose track of 𝐂𝐫𝐿. As it turned out, missing was just the polite way to say no one had asked hard questions in a long time. Jamie waited to come forward until he was no longer living under his parents' roof. Once out of the house, the story he had been told for years, that 𝐂𝐫𝐿 had simply gone to stay with a grandmother named Irene, or Nan, no longer felt believable. He shared with officers that, in addition to her sudden disappearance, 𝐂𝐫𝐿 had endured years of mistreatment, both emotionally and physically, while in the home.
But before we begin, I just want to say thank you to my amazing viewers and subscribers. Your support through likes, shares, and comments means the world to me. Your engagement helps make these stories even more meaningful. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of true crime enthusiasts. When questioned, Sandy and Casey strongly denied the allegations. According to them, Jamie's claims were nothing more than revenge sparked by a recent fallout. After a heated argument with Casey that ended with Jamie being forced to leave the house, they claimed he fabricated the entire story. The couple painted a picture of Jamie as unstable and troubled, describing him as a young man with mental health issues and a flair for drama, like a one-man soap opera with no off switch. Sandy and Casey explained to investigators that, back in 2011, 𝐂𝐫𝐿 had moved in with her grandmother, Irene Nan Goodman, in Asheville. They said they hadn't heard from her since because they assumed she wanted her space. According to Casey, the arrangement began when 𝐂𝐫𝐿 reached out to Nan through Facebook, and shortly after, someone connected to 𝐂𝐫𝐿's biological family came to pick her up and take her to Asheville. Later, the story took a few turns. Casey revised the details, stating that 𝐂𝐫𝐿 and Nan had first reconnected during a visit at a McDonald's in September 2011. With a few more meetings that followed. On one of those visits in December, 𝐂𝐫𝐿 reportedly asked to stay with her grandmother for good. Then in February 2012, just before 𝐂𝐫𝐿's 14th birthday, Casey claimed she spoke with her by phone one final time. According to her, 𝐂𝐫𝐿 said she was staying put and had no plans to return. A surprising decision for a teenager. Casey explained that both she and Sandy had assumed 𝐂𝐫𝐿 was simply going through a difficult phase, chalking up her absence to teenage rebellion. But when investigators requested to see the Facebook profile of Irene Nan Goodman, the woman Erica had supposedly contacted, 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐲 stated the account was no longer active. She also mentioned she had no way of reaching this woman and had never visited her home, only viewing photos she could no longer locate. When authorities later spoke with Carolyn, Erica's biological mother, they were told something very different. Carolyn confirmed that no one named Nan existed in their family. Erica had no relatives in Asheville, and her maternal grandmother had passed away in 2005. Faced with this information, 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐲 shifted her version of events once more. This time, she claimed she had been deceived and that the woman who took Erica must have been someone impersonating a relative. Apparently a master of disguise who fooled an entire household, minus the background check. 2 days after Erica was officially reported missing, child welfare officials removed the other children from Sandy and 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐲's home. Not long after, the couple's cooperation with the investigation began to fade. Around the same time, Carolyn made the trip from New Orleans to speak with detectives. She explained that she hadn't seen Erica since January 5, 2011, though she had received occasional updates through social media during the months that followed. Investigators searched the Parsons residence, hoping for any evidence that might shed light on Erica's whereabouts. But the search turned up nothing of substance, no trace, no trail, not even a forgotten backpack. With few leads and growing concerns, the case was turned over to the FBI nearly a month later. When things start to look more like a riddle than a case, it tends to attract federal attention. In August 2013, authorities returned to the Parsons residence with a search warrant. This time, they uncovered a collection of unusual items, including a plastic bag containing magazines and a book about JonBenet Ramsey, with handwritten notes inside referencing home renovations. Investigators also seized several electronic devices, including laptops, phones, and a desktop computer. A portion of drywall stained with a red substance was removed from a closet, along with the baseboards. Additionally, they collected a pair of stained jeans and 2 large kitchen knives. A follow-up search at a storage unit linked to Sandy yielded even more items of interest. Among them were part of a vacuum cleaner, an old videotape, various school records, a hammer, and several human teeth. An inventory that read less like spring cleaning and more like an unsolved riddle.
One investigator later described the effort as thorough and relentless. Crews checked every part of the house, pulling up floorboards, inspecting closets, probing the yard, and following leads across the state. Reports came in from every direction: roadside sightings, psychic tips, and people claiming to have seen Erica in places ranging from rest stops to parking lots. While the case appeared quiet from the outside, the team behind it was in constant motion, chasing clues, cross-checking leads, and hoping the next step would finally lead to answers. Both state and federal investigators became involved, with agencies like the SBI and FBI stepping in to assist. Rewards were announced to encourage the public's help. After everything Erica had been through, no one wanted to see her overlooked again. This time, we were determined not to turn away. To aid the search, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released a digitally aged photo, showing how Erica might appear at 15 years old based on the last known image of her at 9. The image was placed on billboards across the region, one of many efforts aimed at sparking public memory. There was a lingering sense that silence in this case would echo for years unless she was found. Even with all the renewed attention, investigators couldn't find any concrete proof that Erica had recently lived at the family home. What complicated things further was the fact that Sandy and 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐲 were still receiving monthly financial support, $600 to be exact, meant for Erica's care. Their explanation? That since they were still legally her guardians, the payments were technically valid. It was a strange logic, but then again, paperwork doesn't always follow the truth. Suspicion continued to follow Sandy and 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐲, and in an effort to set the record straight, they agreed to appear on the Dr. Phil show on August 20th, 2013. Their goal was to clear the air and address the growing doubts about their involvement. During the interview, 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐲 explained that she had raised Erica for nearly 14 years and still considered herself her mother. She shared that after 𝐂𝐸𝐴 had spent 2 months with her grandmother, Nan, they were told the child no longer wanted to return home. About 10 days later, she tried calling Nan but heard a message saying the phone was no longer accepting calls. She assumed 𝐂𝐸𝐴 had intentionally cut off contact. A year and a half had passed since she last spoke with either of them. As part of the televised segment, Sandy agreed to a polygraph test. According to the former FBI agent administering it, the results indicated significant deception. Casey, on the other hand, said she was experiencing severe pain and, citing that discomfort could interfere with test accuracy, ultimately declined to participate. Sometimes, timing really is everything, just not always in a helpful way.
Shortly after their television appearance on August 26, 2013, Sandy and Casey sat down for an interview with the FBI. Just 1 day later, they packed up their belongings and moved out of the area. Their explanation was simple. They needed distance from the overwhelming press coverage that had built up around 𝐂𝐸𝐴's case. Years earlier, in March 2002, concerns about 𝐂𝐸𝐴's well-being had been formally raised. At only 4 years old, she was reported to have multiple visible marks on her body. The person who made the call to child services expressed worry that she was being subjected to repeated discipline at home and claimed that Casey often carried a belt as part of this pattern. Following the report, an official investigation was launched. However, the findings did not support the allegations. The case was closed with no further action, as 𝐂𝐸𝐴 reportedly did not display any fear or distress around her adoptive parents. It was one of those moments where the system looked, listened, and politely excused itself. A new report surfaced in 2004, raising additional concerns. It was noted that 𝐂𝐸𝐴 appeared unusually small and fragile for her age. There were also claims that Casey had shown little interest in keeping the child in her care and had even attempted to place her with someone else. Nearly a year after 𝐂𝐸𝐴 had been officially reported missing, the case took a significant turn. On July 30, 2014, Sandy and Casey Parsons were arrested. They faced a total of 76 federal charges, including allegations of government benefit fraud, misuse of mail services, filing false tax claims, and misrepresenting identities for financial gain. Investigators discovered that the couple had continued receiving 𝐂𝐸𝐴's monthly support payments, along with food assistance, long after she was no longer in their household. On top of that, Casey had submitted tax documents falsely claiming dependents by using the names of other individuals. Eventually, Casey admitted guilt to 15 of the charges filed against her. Sandy, meanwhile, chose to go to court, and by October 2014, a jury had found him guilty on most counts. It seemed the only thing he didn't deny was the courtroom coffee. At a federal sentencing hearing in February 2015, testimony was provided by both Jamie Parsons and Casey's sister, Robin Ashley. They spoke under oath about the conditions 𝐂𝐸𝐴 had endured while living with the Parsons, adding weight to a case already heavy with unanswered questions. Robin, 𝐂𝐸𝐴's aunt, would later share that Casey seemed to have no affection for her niece and didn't view her as part of the family. Robin described how Casey would often make 𝐂𝐸𝐴 stand in the corner for long periods and even physically discipline her. At times, she noticed signs that the child may not have been physically well. On one occasion, Casey brought 𝐂𝐸𝐴 to her home, asked her to look after the child, and explained that she was afraid she might harm 𝐂𝐸𝐴 if she didn't. Around 8 months later, Casey returned to take 𝐂𝐸𝐴 back, but ironically, it wasn't out of concern for her well-being. Instead, Casey feared the legal repercussions of continuing to claim benefits for a child who wasn't living in her home. Whenever someone questioned Casey about the marks on 𝐂𝐸𝐴's skin, she would shift the blame, claiming that the changes were caused by her other children. While this was partly true, since 𝐂𝐸𝐴's older brother Jamie would later testify that the entire family had been involved in harming her, it was clear that Casey had fostered an environment where such behavior was normalized, beginning when 𝐂𝐸𝐴 was only 4. It was a twisted family dynamic that somehow never raised enough alarm to intervene. Jamie shared that Casey would sometimes handle 𝐂𝐸𝐴 roughly, leading to discomfort and the need for makeshift care at home rather than professional treatment. Although 𝐂𝐸𝐴 was said to be homeschooled, Jamie described her being kept inside a small closet for long stretches. When she couldn't hold it any longer and had accidents in the confined space, she was disciplined. There were also claims that she was denied regular meals and at one point given pet food to eat, Jamie also testified that Sandy, Erica's adoptive father, would occasionally become frustrated and respond in ways that were not appropriate for a caregiver. Over time, Erica developed a bald patch on her head, which Jamie believed was the result of ongoing stress and repeated incidents that slowly healed over. It painted a picture of a child who was seen but not truly cared for. If someone brought Erica a present, Jamie said it was rarely hers for long. As soon as the visitor left, the gift would quietly be handed over to one of the other kids. It seemed generosity had a short shelf life in that home.
Jamie said the last time he saw Erica was on November 19, 2011. She had been standing silently in the corner, pale and weak, barely able to speak. When she told someone she wasn't feeling well and was having trouble breathing, Casey reportedly brushed it off and told her to be quiet. The house had rules, but empathy wasn't one of them. The following morning, Jamie woke up to find the house unusually quiet. His parents were gone, and Erica was missing as well. When they eventually returned home, Erica was still not with them. Jamie sensed something was off. Casey appeared calm, but Sandy looked distant, almost queasy, as if he had just received some deeply unsettling news. When Jamie asked where Erica was, he was told she had gone to live with her biological grandmother. The explanation was simple, but it didn't sit right with him. As a young child, Erica had lovingly referred to Sandy and Casey as her parents, using the words Mom and Dad. But at some point, Casey told her to stop, saying she didn't like being called that. It was a rejection that lingered. Over time, it became clear that much of the hostility toward Erica may have stemmed from unresolved resentment toward her birth mother, Carolyn. According to accounts, Casey had difficulty even looking at Erica, as she felt the girl resembled Carolyn, a person she openly disliked. Sadly, Erica seemed to pay the price for a grudge that had nothing to do with her. During the sentencing phase, prosecutors introduced additional information about previous fraudulent activity involving Casey Parsons. In 2000, she had entered into a surrogacy agreement with a couple and received $10,000 after confirming the pregnancy. However, not long afterward, she contacted the intended mother, Amy Miller, claiming she had suffered a miscarriage, then cut off all contact by changing her phone number and email address. In reality, Casey had carried the pregnancy to term and gave birth to a healthy baby. Instead of notifying the couple, she offered the child to her sister, Robin. It was Robin who later searched for Amy online, shared what had happened, and helped reconnect her with the authorities, ultimately allowing Amy to be reunited with her child. Casey was sentenced to 120 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release, and ordered to pay over $41,000 in restitution. Sandy received a sentence of 96 months, with the same terms of supervised release and a financial penalty as well. For a pair who once claimed to have everything under control, the outcome was far from it. When delivering the final remarks, the judge made a sobering statement. The available evidence made it overwhelmingly clear that Erica was no longer living, leaving behind not only legal consequences, but a lasting sense of loss that no sentence could undo. Strangely, Jamie would later walk back his earlier statements, saying that he hadn't actually seen any mistreatment of Erica with his own eyes. His account shifted, adding another layer of uncertainty to an already complex situation. Still, in September 2016, Sandy chose to come forward and admitted to authorities that he had treated Erica unfairly. He described several concerning actions, including isolating her in confined spaces and using forms of physical discipline. The details painted a troubling picture that had long remained hidden. Soon after his confession, Sandy agreed to assist law enforcement by guiding them to the place where Erica had been laid to rest. Temporarily released from federal custody, Sandy, still in restraints, was allowed out of prison for just a few hours with one purpose: to help detectives find Erica's final resting place. The road led them to a quiet stretch in Chesterfield County, South Carolina, near a property once owned by Sandy's mother. It was there, tucked away from view, that Erica had been years earlier, left in a place the couple had hoped would remain untouched. As they walked the overgrown path, Sandy pointed to a specific area, remarking that the surroundings looked different now. "The trees don't grow as close over there," he said. "That's the spot, I think." Yeah, that's where it was. Even in silence, the place seemed to remember what everyone else had tried to forget. Within just minutes of entering the wooded area, Sandy Parsons guided investigators to the location where Erica had been laid to rest. Major Moose, one of the officials on site, later recalled how emotional Sandy became during the process, at one point even appearing to fight back tears. Sandy told authorities that on December 17, 2011, Casey had claimed Erica had taken her own life. In response, they attempted to cover any scent and placed her remains in containers before transporting them. The following day, they made the trip to Pageland, South Carolina, and laid to rest near a home once owned by Sandy's mother.
Several months after Erica's remains were found, Casey reached out to detectives. She stated that Erica had expressed a desire not to go on and that she later discovered her motionless on the living room floor. Due to the delicate condition of the remains, the final autopsy report wasn't completed until nearly a year later. Law enforcement held off on filing formal charges until those findings came in. When they did, the results concluded that Erica's passing was the result of actions caused by another person, though the exact manner could not be clearly identified. A painful answer, yet somehow still not the full story. Out of respect for Erica, we won't go into the full details of the autopsy report. What we can share is that the findings pointed to long-term physical hardship, nutritional neglect, and possible underlying medical conditions. It was clear that she had endured more than anyone should have to. Even in family photographs, details of Erica's experience were quietly present. In several pictures, she could be seen standing off to the side or placed in the background, rarely the focus, and often alone. On February 19, 2018, formal charges were brought against Casey and Sandy. They were indicted on multiple serious offenses, including causing severe harm to a child, interfering with official procedures, and failing to properly report a significant event. The case had reached a turning point, long overdue but finally moving forward. In August 2019, just over a year later, Casey Parsons entered a guilty plea in court and was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. During the proceedings, she acknowledged the harm she had caused and spoke of how relatives had tried to intervene over the years, but she had consistently pushed them away and misled them. She expressed remorse in court, saying she didn't fully understand her own actions. "I gave that child to someone who deserved better," she said, referring to Erica's biological family. "God gave me a little girl to protect, and I failed that responsibility on every level." One of the courtroom observers later remarked, "There's just nothing there. No feeling, no remorse." Some even said that the consequences of her imprisonment were likely harsher than any other punishment she could have faced. In the end, she was told she'd no longer be allowed near children, and with that, Casey Parsons lost the ability to even be present as her grandchildren grew up. Not exactly the legacy anyone hopes for, but perhaps a fitting conclusion to her story. Later that year in December, Sandy Parsons also chose to plead guilty. His charges included causing harm, failing to report Erica's passing, and interfering with the investigation. He received a prison sentence of at least 33 years. In his final statement, Sandy shared that although forgiveness might come from others, he didn't believe he could extend it to himself. He admitted to ignoring what was happening and acknowledged that he had failed Erica as a father. On February 25, 2017, just one day after what would have been Erica's 19th birthday, a memorial service was held at First Baptist Church in Salisbury. Her remains were finally laid to rest, closing a chapter that had gone on for nearly 6 years. As someone who shares these stories, I'll be honest. Erica's case isn't just heartbreaking, it's haunting. She was a child who needed protection, love, and safety, and instead she was met with silence. And that silence came from the very people who were supposed to protect her. If you're watching this, I want to thank you, because by listening, by remembering Erica, you're helping make sure her story isn't forgotten. We can't change what happened, but we can keep talking about it. And maybe, just maybe, we can prevent another child from slipping through the cracks. Thank you for your time and for your heart. If stories like this matter to you, if you believe that every voice deserves to be heard, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. I share stories like Erica's every week, and together, we can keep shedding light where it's needed most.